Hello, welcome to the Loop and Bar podcast. My name's Kate and I'm coming to you from North Wales in the UK. And this is episode 8 of my podcast. It has been quite a while since I did episode 7, so sorry about that. We've had a lot going on. So I have got quite a lot to share with you this week. I've got loads of acquisitions, it's unbelievable. I've got a few finished objects. Got some lovely yarn that I was sent, which is an acquisition, but it was actually a gift or a prize. A new mystery whip to introduce, and a little bit to chat about. So, first of all, I need to just let you know where to find me, because what I realised after the last episode, I don't know why it's taken me 8 episodes to realise I've done this. I've been telling people the wrong thing about Instagram. So I have been saying that I am just Loop and Bar on Instagram, but I'm actually loopandbar.kb. So sorry about that. If anybody's tried to look for Loop and Bar and not found it, it's actually loopandbar.kb on Instagram. Oh, sorry, I've got something stuck in my throat a bit. So Instagram, loopandbar.kb. Just looking at my notes to make sure I get it right this time. And I do now have a Ravelry group. I cannot remember if I said in the last episode that I have a Ravelry group. I think I must have said that because I've got people joining it. So that's surely the only way they can know that it's there. So, but for those of you who don't know, and if you want to pop over to Ravelry and say hello, the Ravelry group is Loop and Bar. And that we've got 21 members today. I just checked just before I started podcasting, so that's been brilliant. And thank you to everybody who's joined the group so far. It's really brilliant to have a Ravelry group going for the podcast and to meet lots of lovely, nice people that watch the podcast, and to have a bit of interaction as well. So that's been really, really nice. And what I've noticed is a few familiar faces popping up as well. So people who I've seen in Cal's on Ravelry or who comment on other podcasts. I think what you find in the Ravelry and knitting community is you tend to sort of find yourself in little groups of people that have the same sorts of interests or tastes. And that's what I'm finding. Now I've got my Ravelry group, so it's lovely to be able to chat to people a little bit more, sort of connect with them a little bit more through the group. So in the Ravelry group, we've just got an introduction thread. So if you want to just say who you are and what you're up to, you're very welcome to do that. That's really nice to tell us a little bit about yourself. Or you don't have to. That's absolutely fine too. I've got, what's the other thread I've got in the Ravelry group? It's a what are you working on thread. Couldn't say that then. So if you feel like sharing the thing that you're knitting on at the moment, or the multiple things that you're knitting on, because that's the case for most of us that have shared stuff already. I need to put some more stuff on there. I've only shown one thing so far. It's just, I thought that would be a nice way to, if you're a visual person like me, if I can see something that somebody's making, I tend to make a connection more in my head about who is who. So I just thought that was a nice way for people to get to know each other a little bit in the Ravelry group as well. And I have also got my podcast notes are on the Ravelry group too. So, but I've only started putting them on there from episode 7, from the last episode. So any previous podcast notes that you want to look up from there, you can always message me and I can always put them up if people want that. But they are on the blog. And the blog is www.loopandbar.co.uk. So you can always find them on the blog. Anything else about... Oh, and there's a little 5-minute video clip on my Ravelry group in its own little thread there, and that's definitely well worth a look if you're interested in just seeing how yarn is produced in a yarn mill. It's just a little 5-minute fun clip, and I loved it, so I just popped it on there in case anybody was interested. It's It's a company who has just sort of quite quickly become one of my favourite yarn companies. Oh, there's loads of them, but this is one of my new ones. And I actually don't own any yarn from there yet. I bought some for a friend who I don't think she's received it yet. And I'm definitely planning on getting some for myself because I was quite jealous that I had to wrap it up and send it off to somebody else and I wanted it for me. But I've got something really good in mind for that, for when I buy myself some yarn from there. Anyway, I won't say too much about it because, yeah, that person has not received her yarn yet, so I don't want to spoil any surprises. So, I think that is all the places you can find me. Sorry, I'm looking down a lot, and that's because I've got a few notes down here, and I'm trying to do things I'm trying not to miss anything out. So that's where you can find me, and it would be lovely if anybody else wants to come along and join the Ravelry group. Very soon, myself and my friend Antonella from the Diary of a Yarnaholic podcast are going to be hosting a CAL. It's the working title, I think, is the Cozy Autumn CAL or the Cozy Fall CAL if you call the autumn the fall. And we're planning on doing that starting September, but I think we're going to we've started to iron out the details. I think we've got them all ironed out. Have we, Antonella? I don't know if I think we've made lists. We've been private messaging each other on Ravelry, and I suddenly got really secretarial and organised and started making bullet points. And Antonella sort of responded in bullet points as well, just so we know exactly what we're telling people, because we're doing it across between the two of our podcasts. But once we start the CAL, before we start it, we will be podcasting. And we will give you all the details about the CAL. So if anybody does want to join in with us for a Cozy Autumn or Cozy Fall CAL, it'll be knitting or crochet. But I'm already giving out loads of the details here. So, but what we said was we'd podcast a couple of weeks before we start it properly. So, and then give out all of the details of the CAL. So. If there's anything you want to know in advance, though, just come over to the Ravelry group, or how else? Oh yeah, you can ask me in the down bar on the YouTube, I think, can't you? Or Antonella, of course. So you can pop over to her podcast. She's got a Ravelry group too. That's the Diary of a Yarnaholic podcast group. So you can always pop over there and ask questions, but we'll give you more details a bit nearer to the time. So that would be really nice if we could have some people to join in with our CAL. There's been a little bit of interest already on the Ravelry group, so that's fantastic. So we're really looking forward to that. Now then, what else do I need to say? I've got a Welsh word this week. I completely forgot to do it on the last episode. But I'm going to do that a little bit further on because it's to do with something that I've been doing in the last over the last few weeks. Well, I've had a lesson, and so my Welsh word is something to do with that. So I'll do the two hand in hand a little bit further on in the podcast. And I needed quite a bit of help with this Welsh word from one of my Welsh speaking friends and a big dictionary. So because I wanted to make sure I got it right. So I'll do that a little bit further down the line. Right. So I think I probably better dive in because I've got so much to show you. I'm just looking at the great massive pile of stuff. I've got a favoured object from my house as well because, again, totally forgot to do that last week. I think the problem is that I keep leaving it really long between podcasts and then having so much to actually show and talk about that I can't fit it all in or that I forget bits. And I think that's what happened with the last one as well. So I'm saying a lot as well. What shall I talk about next? I will start by showing some finished objects, I think. I've been doing some sewing. I've got some sewing finished objects. I had two knitting finished objects, but I don't have them anymore because I've given them. They were gifts. But if I can insert photographs, I have no idea how you do it But I've seen people in podcasts just go, I'll just show a photo here, and then it flicks to a photo. So if I can do that, I will, because I took photographs, pretty sure of both of the things. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And hopefully I'll put photographs in. So I technically have got knitted finished objects, but I haven't got them here. I've got a bit of work in progress on a couple of things, and of course, like I said, I'm going to introduce a new mystery whip. There's not much to show because I'm just going to tell you, well, I'm not going to tell you what I'm making because that's why it's a mystery whip. I'm just going to show the yarn. Right, come on, Kate. Let's dive in. Okay, I'll show you my first finished object. This is really exciting. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with showing you a little bit of an acquisition as well. A very, very exciting thing has been happening, and that is that myself and my friend Antonella have been doing a swap. She still has not received my package yet, so I'm really hoping that that arrives very, very soon, because I can't wait for her to get it. And also I'm a bit kind of really hoping it's not got lost in the post, because I've already got her package. But I know she sent it a little bit before I sent hers, so hopefully she'll receive it very soon. And if you do follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I did put a picture. Well, I put quite a few actually on the day I received it, the package. I did a bit of an Instagram sort of blow-by-blow account of the of opening the package, so it's just really exciting. So I've actually used some of the things that she sent me already. And the first thing I'm going to show is a bag that I've made, and the bag itself, the pattern comes from, oh, I haven't got that, I can't really show you that, but I'll tell you what it was from. She sent me a sewing pattern for the Stow bag by the Fringe Association, which is a really fantastic blog and website, and they've got really great knitting, definitely knitting tutorials. I think they've probably got sewing tutorials. She obviously definitely designs and sells sewing patterns, possibly knitting ones, but it's a really great website and a really great blog. So yeah, the pattern was for the Stow bag, and I actually slightly modified it a little bit, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I'll just show you, and the fabric, the outside fabric of this bag is some of the fabric that Antonella sent me, and I just absolutely love it. It is so gorgeous. It's very, very whimsical. The inner fabric was from my stash, so I've lined it with my own fabric, but here is the bag, and it looks a little bit like a child's top if you do that. But here's the Stow bag. And I'll show you a bit closer in detail the fabric, if I can. It's got that lovely little dog on it. I believe this fabric is from a company called Andover Fabrics. That was what was on the selvage. I don't know if you can get that in the UK because Antonella is in Canada. So whether that's just a Canadian company or not, I don't know. But it's just, this is just divine. I love this fabric. So thank you, Antonella. I really loved it. There's a little, whoops, is it hair? So there's a hair, and there's another, ooh, another little, looks like a whippet, little whimsical whippet. There's a pheasant somewhere. I know where the pheasant is because the other thing I made, I'll show you more of the bag in a second, but I've just realised somewhere in here. Where is it? Oh, it's in that one. Oh, I've got so many project bags here. I had a little bit left over. When you cut the pattern out, oh, sorry, I nearly fell off my stool then. Usually I've got that creaky chair, and I swapped it for the stepping stool out the kitchen because this doesn't creak, but obviously it clunks and I nearly fall off it. Never mind, I'll try not to fall off it again. So when you cut the pattern out, you end up with like that shape. It's very technical, isn't it? And with that shape, I made a notions pouch as well. Oops. Just because it looked the right size and shape, and I didn't want to waste any of this gorgeous fabric. And I'm really glad actually, because there's a pheasant on this, oh, it's on that side. There's also a pheasant in the pattern. There she is. Is that a pheasant? One of those. It's a game bird anyway. And I don't think I got a full one on my bag because I wanted to put the dog in the middle, bang in the middle, to make sure I definitely got the dog in. So really good, because I got the pheasant in on my notions pouch, which was brilliant. So, oh, I lined that as well. Oops, showing you all in bits now. That's got the lining in it. So this is something I've been doing, is having a go at making these zippy bags and pouches as well, because previously I've showed you some project bags on the podcast, which I still haven't got on Etsy yet, but that is coming. That's definitely coming. But I'm a bit kind of, I like to make sure I'm really happy with how I'm doing something before I put it up for sale. So I've just been trying different ways out, trying a few different methods out, watching lots of tutorials on YouTube, making sure I know exactly what I'm doing, and basically trying 2 or 3 different things to see which ones I like the best as well. So I'm going to keep doing that over the next couple of weeks, and then eventually there will be something in the Etsy shop to buy, in my Etsy shop. But yeah, so that's the bag, and this is the small size. You can make it in 2 sizes. So this is the small, and there's a large size, which is probably about half again. Don't think it's double. It's around about half again, something like that. And there's the lining. And this lining was just some fabric out of my stash. It's not Liberty. It looks like Liberty. I got it from a fabric shop, about an hour away. I don't know what the make is, unfortunately. It's not on the selvage, and I got it such a long time ago. But it's really beautiful, and I just thought it really went well with this gorgeous whimsical fabric. So it's got a box bottom. I'll just do that to show you the bottom of it. Ooh. The box construction. Now that's not actually in the pattern. I've adapted the pattern slightly to create just a simple box bottom. There is like a faux gusset in the pattern, in the actual pattern, but I preferred to just do this simple box bottom, which I'd learned about previously, sort of a week or so ago from YouTube tutorials and things. So I just employed my new skills to do that. Also, the bag in the actual pattern, on the Fringe Association pattern, is not aligned. The pattern has you putting bias binding tape around here. So it's just one layer of fabric with bias to enclose the edges. But I really wanted to do a lined bag because the fabric I was using, I suppose if I was using something like an upholstery fabric or an oilcloth or something like that, I was going to say I wouldn't want to line it, but actually I would. I love lined bags, so do you know what? I would want to line it anyway, so that's why I lined it. so I did it like that. Yeah. If anybody wants to know, if anybody's got this bag and wants to know how I did my version, feel free to come over to the Ravelry group and ask me, and I wouldn't mind putting together a little tutorial. But I won't do that on the blog unless anybody really wants to know, because I don't kind of want to take away from the pattern itself, because obviously it's not really my design. I've just adapted it a little bit. And the other major thing is the stow bag has actually got, in the real pattern, has actually got internal pockets, but they're stitched to the outside of the bag. Kind of. The stitching shows through here. And because I love this fabric so much, if I'd have just used like a plain canvas, I'll probably have made it just like the pattern suggests. But I decided, instead of putting pockets in it and then having stitching cutting through all this beautiful pattern, fabric motifs, I didn't want any of that disturbed by stitches. So basically, I made a notions pouch just to replace the fact that there were pockets in here. But the stow bag itself is designed so that you can put all sorts of tools and notions and things in. So but you could adapt it in any number of ways, really. You could put a zip in here. Or you could actually put those pockets on the lining if you wanted to. But I just fancied a really simple bag, just like this. And I'm really pleased with it. I love it. And I literally, since I've made it, I actually have not left it I've taken it everywhere with me. I just took it to the shops with me. I put my purse and my phone and used it as a handbag. But I have been using it as a knitting. I've actually been using it as a project bag. Sometimes I can't choose which project to take with me if I'm going somewhere, so I take 2. And I can fit 2 small project bags into this. It's project bag madness. I've made a bag for my project bags. pretty much. But I just love it. You could fit 2 project bags and your purse and your wallet and maybe a drink or something else and my shawl if it's a bit chilly. You could fit loads in and it's only little. Anyway, so there it is. I've talked about it for loads, for ages now, so I'll pop that to the side. So thank you, Antonella, for that absolutely gorgeous fabric. Antonella did actually send me a lot of other fabric. How many? 1, 2, 3. She sent me 4 more pieces of fabric. I don't know where that red one is. It's in my basket, I think. She sent me 4 more pieces of fabric, all different beautiful, really beautiful patterns. I'll show you one because it's... Oh, this just really speaks to me as well, because they all do, but this one, because I love gardening and I love anything to do with this. This is going to become a bag as well at some point, but it's like a gardening... Can you see that? It's got gardening things on it. I don't know what... My favourite thing there is the bee skep. So I don't know if you know this, Antonella, if you're watching this podcast, but you probably do call this the same thing in Canada, but that we call a bee skep. Does anybody... Is it just me? No, I think that is a skep, isn't it? Or it's obviously a hive, but I think the name for that sort of basket is a skep. And they've got them in the Lost Gardens of Heligan in Cornwall, a most beautiful National Trust massive garden, visiting garden, and I love it there. I just want to live there. And they've got these bee skeps in an old brick wall, and they look beautiful. So, and I used to have a watering can just like that. It was my granddad's. I don't know what I've done with it. I think it's been lost in transit because I've moved a few times, and I think I've lost that watering can at some point. And my dad made me, I can't show you this obviously because it's outside on the wall, but my dad made me a little bird box just like that. Is that a shed though? I think that's a bird box that looks like a shed, but my dad made me a bird box just like that at my request, and he put a K in wood on the front, so that was just really very me. Love it. So I think that's going to become another bag. Oops, I'll just pop that there. And there was more fabric, but I can't show all of it because I've just got such a massive pile of stuff here to show. I'd never finish the podcast. Right, so I'll just show 2 more bags that I've been making because, like I say, I've been having a go at a pouch bag, and I've got a particular thing in mind for one of these pouch bags. And that's before I actually get to the point where I'm wanting to put some stuff onto Etsy. I have decided to do a giveaway, a Loop and Bar podcast giveaway, because I realised, well, I knew this anyway, because when I kind of upload my podcast onto YouTube, you tend to look at how many subscribers you've got. And I have got well over 200 now. I think I've got something like 243 last time I looked, which was a few days ago. And that's really brilliant. I think that's amazing. And I thought I was getting really excited about making these bags, and especially the pouch ones. And it was when my bag arrived from Antonella, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, I just suddenly had this urge to have a go at making a pouch bag with a zip. And then as I was kind of having a go at making it, I just thought I want to do a giveaway, and the bag is going to be the gift as the giveaway. And it's basically an over 200 subscribers, a little bit belated because we're like 240 something now, but it's just a fun thing to do. And it's just to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the podcast, and all those lovely people that leave lovely comments after they've seen the various episodes of the podcast. So I just wanted to say a big thank you, because everyone's so kind and friendly, as we always say on our podcasts about the knitting and crochet and sewing community. So yes, I will be doing a giveaway. Now, I was going to properly fully announce it now, like as in this episode. But I think what I'll do is, because I'm planning to do another podcast in a week, I'm saying it now, I'm going to commit to this because I want to be able to give the details of the cal out, mine and Antonella's cal, the knit along. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say now there's going to be a giveaway, but I think what I'll do is I'll make sure I've got the prize made and ready for next week when I do another podcast. So it'll be in episode 9, and I'll tell you, probably put a thread up in Ravelry and that's when you can put your name down for it, sign up for the giveaway if you want to. So next week, next episode, there'll be a giveaway and you'll be able to sign up for that. And the prize will be something very, it may even be this. I just want to make sure that I'm happy with how I've made it. But I've made a couple, so I'll show you them. But it's going to be something similar to this. So these are my project bags that I've been having a go at making. This is my first ever zippy pouch one. There's my label. I don't know if you can see that. And I've lined it. I keep having to take big breaths because I'm talking a lot and it makes me out of breath because I talk a lot. So if I look like I'm struggling for breath, I am a bit because I'm talking so much. And it's got Tilda fabric as the lining and an internal zipper pouch. So this is kind of an example of what I'm hoping to produce for my Etsy shop, as well as the drawstring bags that I've already shown. But these are a little bit more of they've got a bit more construction to them. So there's a zipper pouch in there, and it's quite deep. So that's for notions, or whatever it is you want to put in your little zipper pouch. And this fabric, this is not one that's going to go for sale. This was just the idea was that this might be the giveaway bag, and it still might. And why I wanted to do it was because this fabric here, with a floral pattern, is a really beautiful fabric by a company called Cloth and Clover. And I've actually got curtains. I really splashed out. I saved up and splashed out last year and bought fabric from Cloth and Clover to make myself curtains, and they are my bedroom curtains. I wish I could have made floor length curtains, but I would have had to remortgage the house. Well, we haven't got a mortgage because it's not a house, but you know. But I saved up and I managed to buy enough of this fabric to make myself curtains that just come down to the windowsill, and I absolutely love them. And I had a little bit left over, and I just thought it would be really lovely to use it in a giveaway bag because it's really special, precious fabric. And it really, what's the word? It really represents my sort of taste and in fabrics as well. So I just thought that would be a nice one to do. I could never afford. Well, I could make project bags to sell, but you'd have to be millionaires to be able to buy them because the fabric's not cheap. The bags would have to be ridiculously expensive, and I'm not sure that anybody would really pay that much for a project bag. So that's why I was making it into a giveaway bag. I still might send this one. I am very happy with it, but I don't know. I feel like I'm being really picky about my own work and being a bit of a perfectionist. So I'll make a few more and I'll see. It's got a box bottom. I love doing these box bottoms. They're so simple. They look like they're not, but they're really, really simple. And like I say, it's lined inside. Again, it's lined with Tilda fabric, and you might recognise this fabric because I showed it possibly on the last episode of the podcast. And the reason I bought it was to actually put there on my dresser. Well, I haven't done anything to my dresser since the last podcast. And this fabric was just calling to me to use, so I've actually chopped it up and sewn bags with it. But that's okay because I've put it to very good use. I'm not sure if I can bring myself to glue it onto the back of a dresser. I actually have started looking at bits of wallpaper to put there instead because I just don't know if I can bring myself to glue this beautiful fabric onto a dresser, even though it would actually look really beautiful. We'll have to see. The dress is still a work in progress. Nothing's happened on that, but it's still a whip. Anyway, so that's the first pouch bag that I ever made. It's got a zip, obviously, on the top. And the second one, that could be the giveaway bag. Let me know what you think. I think I'll just show you the top. I've got a little tab there and a few little stitches just there. I'm not sure why. I don't think I'll do those in any future bags that I make. It's the first one I did and I wasn't really sure what I was doing, so yeah, it's just I'm feeling a bit fussy about how these corners are finished and feeling, and I don't want them to be too bulky. And I bought some new zips today that are a little bit more lightweight, but I do quite like the look of these upholstery ones as well. It's just getting these corners so that they're not so bulky. Anyway, that's that one. And the other one that I just finished making this morning, and it's full, it's got my project in it. This was hopefully going to be one for the Etsy shop, but again, I'm still not sure if I'm quite happy with the corners. And I think I want to try making it with a more lightweight zip. So I might just keep this bag for myself because actually I really love it as well. So more of that Tilda fabric. Where's my label? There's my label. I've just kept this one simple as well. And it's got that lovely linen. It's like an upholstery, so it's like a medium weight sort of a linen mix, I think, this fabric. Box bottom, wonderful box bottom. There you go, so it looks like that at the side. And it's lined, what have I lined this one with? Oh yeah, it's lined with red spotty fabric. That's a Tilda fabric as well. So again, if I'm going to use Tilda fabric, which I would love to do for anything that goes on Etsy, I'm only going to be able to use sort of a portion of it, like I have done here, to make it affordable. And then some more affordable fabric for the bottom. But I mean, this, I bought this in bulk from this big fabric shop, and it was really affordable, but it's a really beautiful, beautiful quality fabric. So I'll have to go hunting to see if I can get some more of that. I quite like the idea of using that as my kind of staple fabric and then just complementing it with some of the Tildas or some of the other quilting fabrics that you can buy. So yeah, this one hasn't got a zip in it. I kept this one a bit more simple, but it's really big. It's bigger than the other one. And I've got a jumper project in there, which I haven't shown since my first episode, I don't think. But Melody might appreciate this because she likes the moss stitch. It's the green moss stitch jumper. A little bit more has been done on the arm, but not enough to show, worth showing you. I'll show that again when I've finished it. In the autumn, maybe. So that was my second pouch bag, and I really, really, I really love it. Oh my god, I really love it. So I'm going to keep that one. But I shall be making another. There's possibility I could recreate that one for the giveaway. Not sure yet. But there'll be a bag that looks a bit like those bags announced next week for the Loop and Bar giveaway. And is that all for my finished objects? I've got a half finished sewing object, but I'm going to show that next week because it's a top and I want to sew the hem on, and then possibly I can wear it and show you it that way, because it looks better on than it does on the hanger. So I think I prefer to show you that kind of just by wearing it. So I've been doing a lot of sewing, but I'll show you some. This is going to be a little bit of a mixture of acquisitions and works in progress, because some of my works in progress are in an acquisition. So yes, so it's all a big jumble this week, so I'll just show you this one next. Now, this is a bag that I received, and in it is a whip, which I'm going to show you, from Antonella in my lovely swap package, and it's a Jenna Rose project bag, and it is gorgeous. And she makes the most beautiful, beautiful prints and beautiful, beautiful bags. And is it called Homestead, I think? She's got names for her different prints. And this might be called Homestead, I'm not sure. But it's absolutely gorgeous. And this is a lined bag. So it's got a lining in it and a, whoops, it's a zipper pouch one. Oh, can you see that? Yeah. Box bottom, my new favourite. You can see if I do that. So it's the same on both sides, and I just love it. And it's like, it's almost like a chambray, kind of a really dark midnight sort of blue chambray fabric. And the pattern is printed in gold. It's actually in gold ink, so you might be able to see that if I bring it a bit closer. I don't know if that comes across, but I love it so much. And look, there's a little, is that a deer? Oh. It's just so gorgeous. Oh my gosh, those trees as well. I love those trees. There's one close up of one of the trees. Just beautiful. It looks quite folky. I love that kind of sort of imagery. So I love this bag so much. And as soon as I got it, I transferred my Andrea shawl into it so that I could carry it around with me everywhere. So this bag has actually been with me everywhere as well, in my other bag. So I've been sort of double bagging everything. And so here's my first whip. that I'm going to show you. It's also got an acquisition on it because it's got a progress keeper that I got in my swap package as well. So the last time I showed you this, it's the Andrea shawl. The last time I showed you it, I think it was a couple of episodes ago. Oh, I haven't finished the... Oh, blimey neck. I seem to do this every time. Sorry, I haven't finished the row, so I'm going to have to show you a portion of it. Last time I showed you this, I had knitted the whole of the edge and the border, lace border section, and done about 1 inch of the plain stockinette stitch. And the stockinette stitch is the bit that starts to go up. Is that right? You know, just the plain bit that goes all the way sort of around your neck. And once I'd got all of that knitted, I realised that it wouldn't go all the way around my neck. It just wasn't long enough, and that's nothing to do with the pattern, nothing to do with the way that the pattern's written. It's not a mistake or anything. It's purely because I'm knitting it on smaller needles with a much finer gauge yarn, and I didn't really account for that. I just knitted the largest size, thinking or hoping that it would be big enough, but it just wasn't by long chalk. So I actually pulled it all the way back to the border bit, to the edging, because you knit the edging kind of, you knit a thin bit of edging, a very, very long bit of edging, and then you pick up the stitches along that, and which is what you then start to knit backwards and forwards. So I frogged the whole thing back as far as the edging, and then added another half of the length on. I was going to double it, but I got to about another half and realised that that would be long enough. Well, fingers crossed, I hope it is. And there was a lot of calculations, there was a lot of maths going on. I got it a bit wrong and had to sort of recalculate, but it was okay. And I managed to get the right amount of length, to get the right amount of stitches once I picked up, to get the right amount of repeats for the lace repeat once you put the border on, which all sounds like gobbledygook, very confusing, but anyway, in the end I managed it. So basically I frogged it and then reknitted it another half of the length, and this is how far I've got. Now I've got a progress keeper, I've got a progress keeper on here. Obviously the last time I showed this on the podcast, this progress keeper is not really very relevant in terms of that, because I've pulled back everything that I did, that I've showed you before, and then reknitted it. So everything you're going to look at now, pretty much, nearly everything, is actually what I've knitted since the last podcast. But since the day I got my, can't find the progress keeper, since the day that I got my swap package, which I can't actually remember what day that was now, that's when I put the progress keeper on. So that's how much I've knitted since then. So that's probably about a week, I think. So I've done quite a bit in a week. So here's the lace. Oops, and it's beautiful. So I've fully finished the lace border again now, just trying not to pull it off my needles actually. So that's the lace border complete and the edging. And there's my beautiful little progress keeper from Antonella, from a homespun house. And it's a little tiny teacup. Don't know if you can see it. It's really, 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 really cute. There's a better picture of it on Instagram, and I'll probably put maybe a picture on the blog as well. Yeah, I always say this, but anything that you can't see in very good detail that I'm talking about, just pop over to the blog, or look at my feed on Instagram and you might be able to see some better pictures. But there's the lace border, it's gorgeous. I love the way it comes out in this yarn. It's the Uncommon Thread Blueface Leicester Singles yarn, and it is Attic Room, that's the colourway. And I haven't actually measured this because it's on a circular needle and it's quite bunched up on that needle. Oops. Whoops, it's quite bunched up on the needle. And so I actually don't really know how long it is yet, but that's what it looks like all bunched up. So that's obviously, that's the bit that, you can't really see it very well, can you? That's the bit that's going to sit down here somewhere. And then all of this is stockinette stitch with just a central double decrease up the middle and at the edges. I've been toying with the idea of whether or not to make that part a little bit more interesting by adding in like a purl stitch here and there to give it a slightly seeded effect, or a really basic eyelet pattern, or even stripe it with another colour, but I'm not sure, because what I'm enjoying about this part of this particular project is that I literally can just sit on it and knit, watch telly. This has become now mindless knitting. After I've done all that work on the lace border section, it's now nice mindless knitting, and I quite like that, so I might just keep it as plain, purely for that process sort of side of things. So that's the Andrea. So I think next time I show that, I'll just show it finished, because basically it's just stockinette stitch now. So it wouldn't be too interesting to keep showing you inch by inches of stockinette. So next time you see it, it will be finished. I don't know when, but I'll show you the finished product next. Oh gosh, how long have I been going? 40 minutes. Right, what should I show you next? I'll show you my next work in progress, because if I run out of time and don't get to show you all my acquisitions, I can show you those next time. But I just want to show you, I've done a little tiny bit of work on my Carpino sweater, and I'm using another little progress keeper on this too. So the Carpino sweater is, who's this by? I've actually forgotten because it's so long since I did any work on it. Is it Carol Feller? Sorry. Oh, it's so annoying when it's roughly pages. I'll just quickly check. Yes, the Carpino. Lace front raglan pullover by Carol Feller. So that's on, you can buy that pattern on Ravelry. And I haven't done very much on this, because I literally only picked it up yesterday and started and knitted on it since the last time I showed you, which was a couple of weeks ago. And that's just because I've had such a lot of other stuff that I've been working on. This kind of fell by the wayside a bit. But I love working on this. It's become my new little sort of addiction to work on since yesterday. I did a bit this morning in bed, so here's what I've done so far. Now, it's not very much since the last time you saw it, but at least you'll be able to start seeing the lace pattern. It's like a mesh. And again, I'll put some better pictures on the blog, but it's just a really, really beautiful, simple mesh lace. And so this is a raglan jumper, so the lace starts here right at the top, and obviously will shape down here. And I'm having a lot of fun knitting a very simple lace repeat. It's only a 4-stitch lace repeat, and then it's done, there are 4 different lines of that lace repeat, so it's a 4-stitch 4-line repeat, and it's really beautifully simple. You could feasibly watch TV and not go wrong with this lace repeat, although I don't know if I would risk it, but I think you probably could. And what was I going to say? Oh yes, I'm enjoying the fact that with the use of these brilliant stitch markers, thank you Antonella, massive improvement from my, where are they? What have I done with those? This is what I had, and this is what I had on the Andrea shawl. I've gone off a tangent here, but this is what I was using on the Andrea shawl. Obviously they've all been taken out now because I've finished the lace repeat, but there were about 30 of these in it. And on this Carpino sweater, a great big tangly mess of little knots. They were my stitch markers, and I was actually quite proud of them until I realised they're really, really fiddly and silly and not very nice to knit with, because obviously the long tails get stuck in everything and the knots get kind of stuck behind your stitches, and you just get in a big tangly mess. So those are out the window. I'm not using those anymore. Antonella sent me the most amazing packet of stitch markers, and I'm just going to only use these from now on. Little tiny rubber rings, and you get them in different colours, so I've got purple and green ones. And that's handy and you get 2 different sizes, so I have in this packet. So I'm using the large green one to show where the beginning of my round is, although I've got some stitch markers here. I might put one of my novelty ones on to show the beginning of the round, but you can use the different sizes and colours to mark different bits if you need to. So that's what I'm doing there. So those are a revelation to me. They are just make lace knitting so much easier than great big, loads of big knotty things in your knitting. And there's my stitch marker. Whoops. I think that's rough. Oh, it's the wrong way. It's a little squirrel. So that's another Homespun House one. That was in my swap package. Really, really cute. Now, you can't see it. It's not showing up very well, but it's got the most lovely little pattern on it. It's got little circles kind of engraved, kind of printed into it, really. And it makes a really cute little folky pattern on the squirrel. So that's beautiful. So my little squirrel's there, marking my progress. Oh, turn around. Marking my progress on my Carpino. So as you can see, I haven't done much, but what I'll do is I'll put my squirrel now. If I don't do it now, I'll forget. So while we're talking, I'll pop my squirrel right there, whoops, at the top of my work, so that next time I show you it, you definitely will know how much I've done, whoops, since this podcast. There we go. I just put it through 2 or 3 stitches and then it won't pull the work, will it? Okay, so that's at the top now. I love this yarn to work with, it's gorgeous. It is Drops Alpaca and it's the Petrol, I think it's called Petrol Mix colourway. It's got a bit of green in it, it's absolutely gorgeous, love it, and I really love this little lace stitch pattern. Oh yeah, and what I was saying was the fact that it's a raglan increase and the lace pattern is increased. You have to work the lace over, oh it's 3 stitches, not 4 stitches, over 3 stitches. And you mark it. I've never done this. Oh, I have done it with a shawl, but I've done it without being aware of doing it. This is a little bit more intuitively written in terms of the pattern doesn't necessarily spoon feed you every single stitch of the way. You have to use a tiny bit of brain power. Well, I did. Anyway, it felt a bit complicated at first, but it's as clear as anything now. Now I know what I'm doing. So I've got 2 stitch markers together there at the moment. But as you do raglan increases, you will eventually you'll work your way up to having 3 stitches in between these 2 stitch markers. Whoops. So where there's nothing at the moment because I've just incorporated all 3 stitches. So by the time you've got 3 new stitches there, you then incorporate those into the lace pattern and then move those aside a bit, and then you've got none in between them again. And then you do it all over again. By the time you've got another 3 stitches there, having done your increases, you incorporate those into the lace pattern. So this is a really good pattern for sort of teaching me a little bit about how lace works in terms of increasing it as well. Well, I suppose, or decreasing, because it's a nice simple stitch repeat, so it means that I can see what's happening. I kind of have got my head around the mechanics of how lace gets increased, if you know what I mean. So I'm quite pleased with that. So hopefully I'll have done quite a lot more on that because it's not as complicated as I initially thought it was. Right, I really want to show you this. I don't want to miss this out of this episode of the podcast because I've had this for a long time and I didn't even put this on Instagram. I can't believe it, but we had a lot going on in the last few weeks. We did have some sad events happening, which I'm not going to go into on the podcast, but it's meant that that's kind of partly why I didn't podcast for a little while, just because there was a lot going on. But yeah, we had a little bit of a sad time, and during that sad time I received a package in the post, and it was something I was expecting from Melody from the Mandarins podcast and blog. And I had joined in with her Cal during the spring and knitted the canopy shawl, which I've spoken a lot about on the podcast. And she did a prize draw at the end, just for those who took part. And I think there were 3 or 4 people that won. Various different things. And I was so lucky that first of all, I was drawn as a winner. Really, really lucky. And second of all, I won some yarn. And Melody had been on a trip to, where's it from? What's the, Tallinn, yeah, it says it on the label. I've forgotten the name of the city then, in Estonia. I'm not very good with geography. I just happen to know that that's where, well, it says Tallinn on the label, but I'd seen on her Instagram feed that and I knew from her podcast that she was going there. Melody actually lives in Latvia. So she had a trip to Estonia, and she bought this beautiful yarn, and I won it, and I feel so lucky because I love this yarn. And she was on holiday for a little while, I think, so the yarn didn't come straight away, and the lovely thing about it was a complete surprise when it did arrive in the post, and it really cheered me up on a bit of a sad day. So thank you so much, Melody. I just absolutely love this yarn. I cannot pronounce what it's called, so I'll just put the label really close to the screen. And if there's anybody that can read this language or speak this language, hopefully you might be able to say what it is. I'm not even going to try and attempt it because I don't even know what the phonics sound like in this language, but no, not going to try it. Anyway, there you go. And it's beautiful. It actually smells really gorgeous. I couldn't even describe what the smell is, but it's just lovely. I don't know if it's something it's been washed in or I don't know. It's just got a lovely smell to it, and it's a rustic yarn, and it reminds me of, it's very similar to one of my favourite yarns, which is the Jamieson's of Shetland Spindrift yarn, partly why I love it so much, and another reason I love it is because, I don't know if you can see, but it's a pale grey tone, but it's got sort of 2 or 3 different tones of grey in it, and I really love that in a colourway. Absolutely love that because it makes it feel more sort of organic and living, if you know what I mean, and natural. So there's a lot of yarn here. There are 350 metres in each ball. So what's that in total? 700. Okay, it's 5:30 and it's nearly tea time, so my brain's not working as well as it should do. So there's 700 metres there, so there's absolutely tons of yarn here. And I've been thinking what to do with it. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it. In fact, I know this for sure. I might only need to use 1 ball of this in the Mystery Whip. But the Mystery Whip is something that I've been really wanted, the thing that I've chosen. Try not to say what it is, Kate. The thing I've chosen to knit for the next Mystery Whip is something that I've had the pattern for a while, I'd say at least, since Christmas. I bought it before Christmas from a yarn shop in Leeds. And I keep getting it out every so often and looking at it and thinking, oh, I really want to knit that. And this was the perfect thing to use for it. And I'm going to pair it with, because I'm going to need 2 colours, kind of 3, but yeah, but the main 2 colours. Really, I'm just going to need 2 colours. I'm going to pair it with some yarn from my stash, which I know I bought this from Loop yarn. Is it Loop of London? Everyone knows Loop, don't you? Loop, from Loop of London yarn shop in Islington. I bought this years and years ago. I've got no idea what it is. I actually can't remember. I've got a green colourway in this same yarn as well. But it's got that, it's quite rustic. It's got a very similar rustic feel to this. I don't have the label obviously anymore, otherwise I'd be able to say what it is. But it's a really beautiful raspberry colour. And what I can tell you about the Mystery Whip, I've had a few requests through the Ravelry group and through YouTube comments for another Mystery Whip. Well, kind of requests, just are you going to do another Mystery Whip, or people have said that they enjoyed it. So and I really, really loved doing it because I quite like the idea of knitting something and not telling you what it is. And it gives me an excuse to knit this, and it's really hard not to grab it and show you it now, but that would ruin the mystery, wouldn't it? So all I'll tell you is these are the colours I'm using. This colour is true to the pattern for the main part, the main colour of the object that I'm going to knit. And this is a chosen colour of mine. You could use any colour that you wanted to, really, as long as it's a contrasting colour. Because the one thing I will tell you is, it is a colourwork project. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you 2 things. It's not a garment. It's a useful object. So it's a useful object and it's a colourwork project. So that's why this is going to be so brilliant, because to use this yarn in some colour work as well, it's absolutely crying out to be used in colour work just because of the nature of the yarn. And I just think it goes really beautifully with this raspberry colour. So there we go. So I was hoping to have cast on actually the Mystery Whip to show you the beginning of it, but I didn't have time. So you know a little bit about that. Next podcast, which hopefully is going to be next week. I'm saying hopefully, I'm just going to do it next week, even if it's really short, because I need to tell you about the Cal and the giveaway. So the next podcast that I do, I'm definitely going to show you the start of the Mystery Whip. So hopefully I'll have I don't know, an inch or so at least of work to show you on that. So I'm really excited about that. And that can go into one of my lovely project bags. Perhaps it will go in my stow bag. Right, I need to show you some yarn that I was sent because it's so gorgeous, and I don't want to finish the podcast without just showing you this beautiful yarn from Antonella in my swap package. And I had some more yarn that I bought myself. It's birthday, I had a birthday in mid-July, so I ordered some yarn for myself for that as well. And also Avion basically gave me his card because there was a Wool Barn shop update, and he said he'd buy me some yarn from that. So he very, very generously and, what's the word, quite recklessly, I think, just gave me his card and said, yeah, there you go, and sat and watched cricket downstairs. I was like, don't you want to come and watch me? Don't you want to supervise what's happening with your card? But I was really good, and I did only buy one skein. One, partly because every time I clicked on something, it had gone. It had all gone out of stock. But I did get something lovely. But two, also, I wouldn't do that. I just bought one skein, and that's very, very generous anyway. So I'll show you that in a second. But Antonella bought me the most beautiful yarn and sent me it all the way from Canada. And the first thing I'm going to show you is by Silver Cloud Alpacas. And this is a sock yarn, but it's a bit unusual in terms of what I know as a sock yarn. It's almost like a double knit, or a sport weight, I'd say. And I think it's 75% alpaca, 10% merino and 15% nylon, so it has got that nylon content in it. But yeah, if you wanted to use this as a sock yarn, you could do, and it's the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colour. What's the colourway called? I think it's violet. Blue Violet 2 it's called. So it's a hand-dyed. Pretty sure this is a hand-dyed yarn, yes it is. And it's got lovely, a few different tones of that gorgeous blue. Beautifully named, Blue Violet. Absolutely lovely. And it's really soft. It's always funny when people do that. Oh god, it's so soft, it's gorgeous. I don't think I want to make socks with it because I want to be able to see this yarn all the time. So if I make socks with it, I won't be able to see it while I'm wearing it. Well, I will if I haven't got shoes on, but I think what I'm going to do, and because the meterage, because it's a different sort of weight from your usual kind of sock yarn, it does say here that the yarn's a little bit thicker and therefore has a little bit less yardage. It does suggest a number of stitches for you to cast on and a cuff length in order for you to get a pair of socks out of this. So it's possible to get a pair of socks out of it. But I've decided I'd probably do this for our Cozy Autumn Cal actually. I want to knit a cowl with it because I want it here around my face, because blue is a colour that I wear a lot and it's really soft, and I want to be able to knit something that I can wear and have around my neck. So that's going to become a cowl. And I got a bit addicted to the idea of having loads of shawls, and I love wearing shawls at work to keep my neck warm or out and about. But what I need for the house, for when it gets a bit cooler, and when I'm sewing and kind of leaning over things, like in here when you're leaning over to pin, if you've got a shawl on, obviously it's going to sort of flap in front and you won't be able to see what you're doing and it's going to get in the way. So that's why I need a cowl, just basically a tube around my neck. So it's going to keep me lovely and warm while I'm in the house, but it's not going to get in the way of anything I'm doing. So that is absolutely perfect. So that's what that's going to become. And Does it say about the alpaca on here? I don't know if it does, but there's a picture of an alpaca there. I don't know, these could possibly be, because Antonella had mentioned that she was going to actually see some alpacas, and I think it might have been, was it from this shop? Was it Antonella? Did you meet these alpacas? I think she went and hung out with some alpacas. So it's possibly those, or it's possibly the ones I'm going to show you next. So I got some more alpaca yarn from Antonella. This is all from Antonella that I'm just going to show you now. So, whoops, beautiful stuff. Now this is hand spun. Oh my gosh, it's so organic, it's so gorgeous. I don't know if it actually is organic, but I just mean it feels just absolutely beautiful. And it's called Nancy Elizabeth Designs Pure Alpaca Yarn, custom hand spun for Alpaca Avenue. So I think Alpaca Avenue is Antonella's local shop, a shop that's near her. And does it say anything about the, is it 100% alpaca? I thought I'd read it on here. I thought I'd read it. Oh, yes, it's 100% locally grown Ontario alpaca, lovingly raised especially for the fibre artists. So the person that's hand spun this yarn, I think, has actually raised the alpacas as well, which I think is absolutely brilliant. It's amazing. And the colourway for this is Viola, and I've got 55 metres in each skein, I think. Is it in each one? Because it's quite a... Oops. Oh yeah, 53 in another. So there's around about just over 50 metres in each skein. And here it is, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I love it so much. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this. You can see the actual... I feel like I'm stroking the alpaca because a little tiny bit of the end is unspun. So it just feels like you've got a little bit, well, you have got a bit of the alpaca because that's because it's from the alpaca, but it actually feels like you've got the alpaca with you here, just giving it a little stroke. It's so soft. Oh my god, it's so soft. And again, I don't think this is actually supposed to be for sock yarn. What I want to do is find something really, really lovely to make with this. Probably something with a nice stitch pattern, because I think that it's got a really beautiful, quite a high twist to it, and I think if I can find something that's got a textured stitch pattern, that will show up really well with this beautiful yarn. So I want to make sure I use it and show it off to its full potential, and use it for something that I can wear against my skin because it's so soft. Maybe mittens. It might become mittens. I think there's enough there to make myself a pair of mittens for the autumn, so I love it so much. It's gorgeous. And the designer of that, the person that spun this yarn is called Nancy Elizabeth Munro, and she's got a website, nancyelizabethdesigns.com by the look of it. So I will put all of the details of everything I'm showing you and links to various places in the podcast notes on the Ravelry thread. Loop-and-Bar Ravelry thread. So, and then I got some more yarn. She's so generous. She's just sent me loads and loads of yarn. This is Julie Asselin. I think this is how you say it, Asselin. Hand-dyed yarn. And again, oh, this is slightly more rustic, and I love this. Oh, it's gorgeous. I got 2 skeins of this. There's the label. Julie Asselin. Hopefully I'm holding it still enough so that you can see. And there's the beautiful colourway. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's got little flecks of colours. So if I hold that one there so that you can hopefully see. And it's got little bits of like a sort of raspberry pink. Oh, do you know what? There's too many colours to name. It's just got loads of different shades of colours in it. It's so beautiful. And again, I really like the twist on this. Possibly they would make good mittens, or a hat. There might be enough in here between the 2 yarns to make a hat. Something like the Fidra. Again, something with a textured stitch pattern I think would work well because it would show up really nicely. I think that would complement the yarn really well. So let's have a look at the meterage. It's 100%, oh, I don't know if I can say that. Oh, merino. Oh, hang on. Oh, I don't understand what it says on the label. I'm going to show you it because I don't really get it. Oh no, oh yeah, can you read that? I don't know. No, sorry, you can't read it. It says it in a different language, so I can't really read it. It says 100% Lane Fine, and then in brackets, Rambouillet plus Targi plus Merino. So I'm not too sure about what that means actually, because I don't know what Lane Fine is. Antonella, help me. What is it? But it's gorgeous, whatever it is. It's just absolutely lovely. Maybe that's going to be a hat. Okay, so that's absolutely gorgeous. Love it. Love it. Whoops. And then this one was a company, again, I've never heard of any of these companies, which was a really lovely thing as well. Just to discover new yarn is always brilliant, and that's why swaps are really good. And this is, oh my gosh, Antonella showed some of this yarn in her just gone podcast episode, and she had a different colourway, but the label, oh my god, when I opened this yarn I actually gasped because it's so beautiful. And it's a sock yarn. Is it a sock yarn? It's a superwash merino and with nylon, 20% nylon. Yeah, 80-20 sock, yeah. And the colourway is pressed flowers, and the label is so cute. If I turn it that way, you might be able to see. The writing's really faint, so I'll just tell you what it says. Lichen and Lace. So that's the company. And she stitches her label down the side, which is really cute. And I just love this little motif here. Oh, here. And she's handwritten on the back, the colourway. And it's pressed flowers. Oh. It's just so pretty. I haven't taken the label off and I haven't unwound the skein yet, but I kind of want to dive in and just look at all the different colours. But so far I've just kind of done this because I don't want to ruin the skein. I just want to have it on my dresser to look at for ages before I do anything with it. And I've got a feeling this is going to become socks. But if it becomes socks, it's not going to become socks that I wear inside my shoes, because I do not want them to be ruined, and I want to be able, the socks to be ruined, that is, and I want to be able to see them all the time. So they'll probably be the kind of socks that I wear while I've got my feet up watching the sofa. Sitting on the sofa with my feet up watching the telly. I don't just sit and watch the sofa though. I'm not that sad. Yeah, so sofa socks, TV socks. Gorgeous socks. Or a cowl, because actually, yeah, I don't know, can I really knit socks and put them on my feet? It's just too beautiful, isn't it? Oh, that's the problem with sock yarn. So that's the Lichen and Lace, and again, I just love it. She was really spot on with all the stuff that she sent me. Now, Antonella actually sent me loads more stuff, but I just can't show you all of it. There was some more stitch markers. Oh, I got a sewing machine stitch marker. Oh, the buttons, I did get those out to show you. These beautiful buttons. And I believe that they're wooden buttons, and I think this is Canadian wood. And they smell lovely. I don't know what the smell is, but it's gorgeous. So I've got 6, 1, 2, 3, yeah, I've got 6 of these, and they're gorgeous. I think they're made locally, I'm sure she said they are. And they just look like the tree trunk. Like a little section of tree trunk. They're so beautiful. I don't know how well, really. I don't think the screen isn't doing them justice, but they're just absolutely lovely. They're so natural. So I'm going to have to keep those really safe and look for a very special project to use with those buttons, because I don't want to ruin them in the washing machine. That's another thing. Can you put wooden buttons in the washing machine? Perhaps a cushion cover that you don't wash very often? I'm not sure. I'm going to have to put a lot of thought into that, because I want to use these buttons because they are so gorgeous, but I do not want to ruin them. And I want to use them on something that's that I'll have for a very long time as well, so they were gorgeous. I love those. I love buttons. I'll just quickly show you the Woolbarn yarn that I got from Avion. Well, that I bought myself with Avion's card. Because he's coming home now. I can hear him coming up on the quad bike, so I'm going to stop the podcast in a second. I'll stop and then resume, I think. I might resume in the morning, because it's already an hour and 10 minutes. It's going to be a long episode, because I haven't finished. I'm just going to have a little sojourn. But this is what I got from the Woolbarn. And it's the tweed sock, so it's 4-ply fingering. Again, wouldn't want to hide it in my shoes. Probably want to make a shawl with it or something. But it's gorgeous. It's like a beigey, beautiful beigey colour with tweed colour in. And it's with little tweedy bits in, and the colourway is Cozy. I love the wool barn. I absolutely love it. I want to collect loads of wool barn yarn. So that was my present from Evian, which was lovely. Oh, I've just seen another tiny bit of yarn, another one that Antonella sent me. I'll just show this quickly. I believe this is a Homespun House Secret Handshake, and it's a little mini skein amount that she's hand wound for me from a project. I think it was from her Mrs. Weasley socks that I think she's only just finished. So she was really generous to send me this, because when she sent it, she hadn't actually finished a project. So thank you ever so much, Antonella, because I absolutely, literally adore this yarn. I think I want to eat it. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. It's going with some of my other little mini skeins. I'm very fussy about my mini skeins. I haven't got very many so far, but I've got a project in mind, and I'm only letting in mini skeins that I absolutely really, really love. So that is going in the pile, in the little collection for that particular project, which I'll talk about a little bit further down the line in a few more episodes when I've maybe acquired a few more mini skeins for it. So it's got a bit of stellina in it as well, so that's my first ever sparkly yarn. It's really cute. I love it. Absolutely love it. Can't wait to knit with that. I've got more yarn to show you. I ordered myself something for my birthday. Oh, Charlie's. Oh yeah, I've got some more yarn to show. That was Charlie doing a little yawn. She wants her tea now, and so do I. So I'm going to stop the podcast, go and make tea, and probably continue in the morning, I expect, because I don't think I'll continue later. Well, for a start, it'll be a bit, there won't be enough light, so I'll continue a bit later because I've got my Welsh word to do. I've got some spinning to show you, and a favourite object from around the house. And I need to tell you about a wool show that I'm going to. So that was like part A of the podcast. So I'll see you in, for me, it'll probably be like something like 12 hours. For you, it'll be about 10 seconds for part B of the podcast. Hopefully it won't be as long as part A because, yeah, you might not have time to watch it all. But anyway, yeah, see you in a little bit for the next part. Bye. Hello, I'm back, and it is 7 o'clock in the morning. No, it's 20 past 7 the next morning. So this is the second time I've done my podcast over 2 days where I've had to stop to make tea. I've started the first half in the evening, had to stop to make tea, and then carried it on the next morning. So hopefully I don't look too different. I might sound a little tiny bit different because it's early in the morning and I haven't been up for very long. So, and I don't know, maybe the lighting's slightly different, but hopefully it's not too much, not too disjointed. And this time I have, actually I had this yesterday, but I drank it all before I started the podcast, so I never showed the mug. But in my brand new mug, which I treated myself to for my birthday, I always treat myself to things for my birthday. It's a, just read the back. Oh, do you know what? The bottom's washed off. It's a Gisela Graham mug, and I love it. It's just really simple, really beautiful, simple shape, really lovely pattern on it. It's slightly different to the sort of thing that I normally go for, but I just couldn't resist it. I think I just love the simplicity of the pattern on it and the colours, and I just love the shape. I could just imagine drinking out of that mug when I saw it in the shop. And I was actually shopping for a birthday present for a friend, well, my sister-in-law, Angharad, and I got her something really lovely which I kind of wanted to buy for myself as well. But this was something I was thinking of getting her, but then I decided I'd buy the mug for me, and I got her something else really lovely. So, and I've got coffee in this morning, which I don't drink very often, but I think I need it just to keep me going to get the rest of the podcast recorded, just to wake me up a little bit. So I'll just have a sip. Try and get coffee, not to get coffee around my mouth. Right, so last night, but 10 seconds ago for you, I was showing you my hoards of yarn. And there's a little bit more yarn to show you, so hopefully you're not bored of seeing all the stuff that I got through the post yet. I hope not, because I've got a couple of lovely things to show you. And then I have actually decided to show you the sewing project that I think I mentioned. I think I might have mentioned it in the first half of the podcast. I'd made a top. I've sewn a top basically, but I haven't put the hem on yet. Yes, I did mention this. And I probably will maybe put it on for the next podcast, or at least model it on once it's finished. But it occurred to me that if I don't show you it now while it's not on me, I can't show you the seams. Not that you'll see much anyway, because the camera's not very good, but I'll give you a little glimpse of that. Right, so I won't waffle too much because I'll probably repeat myself from what I said last night. So I'll just dive straight back in again and show you some beautiful yarn from New York. I found this shop on Etsy maybe a month, 2 months ago, and it's called Lammy Toes, and it's a lady her name is, oh, I've got it written down here on her card, Amanda, and she's in New York, I do believe. And I've only just realised this when I looked properly at the card last night, that she has a podcast, so I shall have to have a look to see what her podcast is like as well, check that out. So that'd be nice to discover a new one. But that's Lammy Toes, and this is her card. Oh. And I saw this particular yarn, and it's a sock yarn, on Etsy while I was just browsing one day for hand-dyed or speckled yarns, I think it was. And I absolutely fell in love. And she pictured the yarn obviously in the skein, but she pictured it knitted up into a sock. And it looked absolutely amazing. And I was really good at the time when I first found it. I favourited it and then resisted buying it because I thought, I can't buy yarn from New York, it's just going to cost a fortune. But then it was my birthday and I happened to just be browsing on Etsy because I thought I'm going to treat myself to something for my birthday. And I think I was on Etsy for something else, I can't remember, but I looked in my favourites, which is a dangerous thing to do. And that, thankfully, actually, that was in my favourites. So I revisited that website and she still had some of this beautiful yarn. I'll just have a quick drink. And she still had some of this absolutely beautiful yarn. So I just click and ordered myself a skein because it was my birthday. Why not? And the colourway, I love the name of the colourway. It's a sport weight, so it's called, it's a superwash merino and nylon. And it's called the Sweet Pea Sport. I think that's what she calls that base, Sweet Pea Sport. And the colourway is actually macarons. So here it is. And it's just totally, absolutely divine. I love it. It is just like macarons and I actually just want to eat it. It's gorgeous. And when I clicked on the order and put it into my little cart, you can put a message to the seller. So I messaged her and asked her what was the pattern that she's pictured the yarn knitted up in, what pattern was the socks, if she knew it. And she was really nice and she got straight back to me. I'll just show you the inside. She was really nice and she got straight back to me and told me that it was a pattern on Ravelry, a free pattern on Ravelry, called Spring Pools, I think it is. So Spring Pools socks. So I've put that straight into my library on Ravelry, and that's exactly what I'm going to knit with this absolutely gorgeous yarn. So hopefully I'll be able to, basically I did say to her in the email, hope you don't mind, but I'm just going to completely copy the socks that you've got in your picture because they're just so gorgeous. And she said that the pattern's really lovely to knit, so I'm really looking forward to casting those on in the very near future. Because I've still got some sock yarn that I showed a few podcasts ago, and I haven't cast on anything with them yet. But I got sent in my swap package, lovely Antonella sent me my very first pair. Oh, do you call this a pair? My very first higher sock needle. higher sharps, and I've been dying to knit with these. I've been dying to give these a go, and I love the blue cable. Look at it, it's so gorgeous. There's actually some of that blue in this yarn, so they're going to be friends, and this needle's going to knit this yarn into some socks, so that's brilliant. So thanks, Antonella. These are a 2.25mm, so I'm going to give those a go with this yarn, and hopefully I can knit the spring pool socks with them. And then I can use these needles again for the Bergère de France yarn, which I haven't used yet, but this is just, I love the Bergère de France yarn, it's gorgeous, but this is totally even more excitingly gorgeous, and I think I'm going to have to use this one first. So there we go, just give you a little glimpse, and it's got all these beautiful colours. It's got blues, browns, greens, all different shades like creams, yellows, but all really subtle, and some of it sort of just really pale and some of it really kind of speckled, as you can see. Hopefully you can see that. It's just gorgeous. I love it. So I think later on today I'm going to check out Amanda's podcast as well. I'll write it down here, but what does it say? Not a podcast. Knitting, spinning, crafting. I think it's called Not a Podcast. Oh no, So Knitpicky. On YouTube it's So Knitpicky. Maybe people already know about it. It might be one of these that everybody knows about and I still haven't discovered yet, like the Grocery Girls. Everybody was watching that for ages and ages. It took me ages and ages and ages to actually click on them and start watching them, and now I think they're amazing. So you never know, it might be one of those, but I shall watch that. And I'll put a link, the information just here. I'll give that a try, but I'm really looking forward to casting on those socks, especially with those higher sharps. I'm not sure how I'm going to manage because they're tiny little needles, but everybody seems to be using these to knit their socks with. And I really am very excited about having a go of knitting socks without magic loop. So I don't know how successful it's going to be, so I need to try it first. Like I say, I've never used these, but the last time I tried to knit a pair of socks, I ended up frogging them, and I was using a magic loop, and I was getting frustrated because I was thinking the bit where the magic loop, how do I say it? I was thinking that the magic loop sort of pulls the stitches apart at the end slightly. You almost need something to clip it together, and I was just thinking that it was stretching out the stitches, and I always get worried in case it's stretching out the stitches. And anyway, if I have to knit a magic loop, I will, but actually, if it turns out that I can't knit with these, which I really hope I can, because I'm just gonna learn to knit with these. But if I have to knit socks on a magic loop, I've seen other people do it where they've just got, rather than a loop, they've just got two sets of the same size needle, and they've just got them hanging off straight, and I think that might be a better option for me, so I could always try that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to using those, and I'm really hoping that I can get my fingers around the little needles, and I'm pretty good with small fiddly things, so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be okay with those. So I can't wait to use them because it's higher sharps, and I've seen everybody knitting with higher sharps. Maria from Stitched in Sweden uses higher sharps a lot, and she's got the most beautiful knitting, a really exquisite knitting. So yes, got myself some. Well, I haven't. Antonella got me some, so thanks, Antonella. I've got Charlie sitting below me, and she's just licking her legs. So Charlie, don't do that, darling. So it's quite noisy, so I've just had to stop. Good girl, aren't you? Yeah. Right, I've got one more yarn acquisition, kind of. There's a little bit more coming up, but I'll show you that in a while, and it's more connected to spinning, so it is acquisitions. But I'll just show you this one last one, because this is another birthday acquisition. Basically, I was at work on my birthday. I wasn't at work the day before. My stepmom came and spent the day with me, well, a few days with me and Avion. And so she was here for Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And on the Monday, which was the day before my birthday, that's a day that I don't work. So we went to the beach, and we were really lucky, and we had beautiful sunny weather. And we went down to a beach called Porth Dinllaen, which is on the Llŷn Peninsula. or Penllyn, which is, if you look at the map of North Wales, it's like a little arm sticking out, or a little thumb sticking out, sort of at the top, northwest, no, not quite north, on the west anyway. And it's beautiful there, absolutely beautiful. So we had a lovely day, and then the following day, the Tuesday, was actually my birthday, and Babs just went off in her car to Conwy, which is a really nice seaside, well, like a harbour town on the north coast. It's really pretty with a castle and lots of little shops. So she just had a little look around there while I was at work. And of course, while I was at work on my birthday, I work in a gallery, and sometimes you can have a little bit of quiet time in the gallery if you haven't got people in there for half an hour or so. And that's when I start clicking around on wool websites and buying myself birthday yarn. So that's exactly what happened. I had a little bit of a lull in the gallery, and my bosses are okay with that, by the way. They know, they just tell you to, you know, if there's nothing to do in the gallery in terms of it's just a little bit quiet and there aren't any customers in at that moment, then it's okay to go on the internet and have a look at things. So that's what I did. And I have been, this is another yarn that I've been wanting for quite a while. It's hedgehog fibres, and it's my first ever hedgehog fibres. I only bought the mini skein. I'd never regret things, but I would like to buy the full skein, I think, but I'll knit this up first. I did see a full skein of it knitted up into a shawl, and it's absolutely gorgeous, so I might actually be treating myself to a full skein, but not probably till maybe Christmas. Or maybe Avion could buy it for me for Christmas. But anyway, here it is. Does anybody recognise the colourway? It's a hedgehog fibres sock yarn. Does it say? It's 2080 superwash merino nylon. Made in Ireland. Didn't realise they were made in Ireland. So I should think that everybody, or at least most people, will be familiar with this, because lots of people have used hedgehog fibres, or lots of people, quite a few popular podcasters use this lovely yarn, and it is really, really lovely. And I just love mini skeins. They're so cute. They're just so gorgeous. I just want loads of them. But I'm quite picky with my mini skeins, as I said just in part A of this podcast. I'm quite selective. And I like the idea that I'm going to take a lot of time for the project that I want to use these for. It's no mystery, it's the mitered square blanket, which I've already started, but I kind of felt as if that was a bit too lumpy bumpy, not very neat, and not very coordinated, which is kind of the point of the mitered square or the Cozy Memories blanket. It's sort of a patch blanket, but I got a mini skein from the Wool Barn, which was the grape twist, the sock twist in grape, in the colourway grape twist. And as soon as I got that, I just thought, that's it, I just want mini skeins all like this. Cute little mini skeins just exactly like this in all my lovely favourite colourways, and I'm just going to collect up loads and loads of them and then start that blanket again. So this is going to go into that blanket, and so that's what the secret handshake is. That Antonella, is that secret handshake? I'm sure she said it was. I hope I've got that right. But that's what that's going to go into as well. Oh, they're going to go together. So I've got about, how many have I got so far? I've got 3 in my collection so far now. But I will be able to use, hopefully I'll have a bit of that left over. And this one. That's the sock yarn as well. The other thing is, on my Cozy Memories blanket that I started before, I was just using any sort of gauge of yarn. I was just using anything out of my stash. And like, the more I looked at it and the more I saw other people's Cozy Memories blankets on their podcasts, some of them are really neat, especially Charlotte's from Charlotte and Gus podcast. Hers is really neat. And I think it was hers, and I was looking at hers thinking, all the squares are really neat and it's all the same gauge and it's all the same size, and mine looks a bit kind of really wonky and rickety, and, well, not rickety, but anyway, I got a bit of blanket envy and I decided I was going to do another one, start it again kind of, in all sock yarn. I don't know if I'll stick to that, but hopefully I'll have some of that left as well, my lovely Wool Barn, and hopefully I'll acquire some more. at some point. Oh, I didn't tell you the colourway. So, if you haven't already recognised it, the colourway is Teacup. Mina from the Knitting Expat podcast has got a beautiful example of teacup, of this exact yarn knitted up into, is it the Across the Pond shawl on her Ravelry projects? It's one of her designs. I think it's definitely a shawl, and I think it's called Across the Pond on her project pages. And that's what made me want this yarn. So it's just so gorgeous. So I'm really pleased with that. So that was one of my birthday treats to me. I think I treat myself more on my birthday than anybody else does, actually, but that's fine. That's what birthdays are for. So I've got some more yarny things to show you, but first of all, I'll just do a favourite object from around my house, I think, quickly, because I don't want to forget to show you this. And yeah, I'm breaking up the yarn acquisition showing a little bit because it could just... it could get a little bit, well, I don't know, I never get bored of looking at people's yarn, but I don't want people to get a bit bored of looking at my yarn, so I'll break it up a bit. So this favourite object from around my house, I have had this, I actually don't know how many years. I'm 38 now, just turned 38 on my birthday. I could have had it for 20 years, maybe. I'm trying to think when my dad gave it to me, but anyway, my dad bought this for me. I think I might have had this for nearly 20 years now, which just sounds absolutely mad. But my dad, however many years ago, 15, 20 years ago, my dad is, he always had his own business, and so he's got friends who are businessmen as well. And I don't know who this friend is, but one day he said to me, he rang me up, I think I might have been at university, possibly, in Leeds, and he rang me up and said, in the evening for a chat, and we were just saying what things we were going to be up to, and he said, well, actually, tomorrow I'm going with a friend on his private jet to Verona for a day trip to Verona. I don't even know where Verona is. Is that Italy? That makes me sound really stupid, doesn't it? I should have looked that up. Anyway, I know it was Verona because I always think of Romeo and Juliet. And I just thought, what? And it was really kind of quite adventurous and impulsive for my dad to do something like that, because normally, I won't talk too much about him going on holiday, but let's just say if he's going on holiday, he spends about 3 weeks washing every single item of clothing in the house beforehand, and pretty much packs all of it as well for like a 3 or 4 day holiday. So it was just quite unbelievable to think that he was just going to get up, go on a plane and go to Verona for the day. That's probably the secret to why it was successful. He just went for the day. Anyway, he had it turned out he had a friend who obviously, I don't know, must be doing very well in his business because he had his own private jet. I have no idea who this friend was. I'll have to ask him who it was. And his friend was going for a business meeting or a business trip in Verona on his own private jet. This sounds mad. Like, we don't have things like that. That does not reflect at all of our lifestyle. So that's why it was really out of the blue, out kind of quite left field, you know, bit random. And he just asked my dad, would you like to come along just for the company on the plane, you know? So, and then just said to my dad, you know, you can go off around Verona for the day while I have my business meeting, and then just meet me back, and then we'll just fly back again. Totally mad, absolutely bonkers. And my dad was like, oh, okay, yeah, why not? I mean, why would you pass the opportunity up to do that? And amazingly, my dad bought me a present back. Now, he's not the kind of person that sort of would know what to buy me or as a gift for anybody, especially like a woman. And this just totally blew me away, and this is one of the reasons why this is so precious to me, and apart from the fact that it's absolutely beautiful. But he went to a market, I think there was like a market going on in one of the little town, I don't know what Verona looks like, but anyway, there was a street market, and obviously they sold crafts, and my dad bought me this handmade tile. So this comes all the way from Verona, and I've had it all of this time, and I just think it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. And I think it's just like a flower in a glaze on an earthenware tile, and there is a signature on the back, but I can't really read it. It doesn't really tell you exactly who the artist is. I think there's an M. And there's a number 2, so maybe this was in a series. I'm sure it says Mix or Mech, M-E-X, Mex maybe? But I don't know. So I've no idea who the artist or artisan was or is. And my dad's not the kind of person that would have asked or found out anything about them. He just bought it for me because he thought it looked nice. And I just don't think he knew how much I would like this. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And so wherever I've ever gone, this tile gets wrapped up in lots and lots of bubble wrap. And it's one of the first things I ever get out, on the various times that I've moved house. And it's put into a very special place in the house. So I always find a really nice spot where I'm going to look at it every day, going to be able to see it every day. So in this house, it hangs, we've got a lovely big bathroom with quite a big sort of deep window. And down the side of the window, I painted all the walls like a really sort of pale cream white colour. 2 of the walls. And I've got some things hanging kind of in a line down each side of the walls. And I like to have a bath every night. And from the bath, you can look out of the window, albeit it's one of those bathroom kind of obscured windows. So you can look out of the window and you can see the trees because there's a wood next to the house. And it's just, you can see the trees through the window. And in the evening, you get the most beautiful light coming through the bathroom, through the trees, and kind of the light plays on the wall. So if you're having a bath at that kind of time, it's just really relaxing and really lovely. And this tile is just on that wall, so I can just look at it every time I go in the bathroom, really. I'll have a little look at my tile. And I've got a few other really beautiful things that are quite precious that I've collected over time. They're kind of hanging on the wall as well, but that's one of them. And it's also quite a safe place because it's quite high up on the wall, so it's pretty safe from being knocked or accidentally, sort of falling off the wall or anything. So it's one of my favourite, most precious objects from around the house, all the way from Verona on a very random trip that my dad took one day, and a very very random gift really, but one of my most precious and favourite things. So the next thing I think I'll just very quickly show is my sewing nearly finished object. Like I said, I decided to just quickly show it so that I can, give you an idea of the construction and just show you a little bit of the, I don't know if you'll be able to see the seams or the sewing very well at all, but you might recognise the fabric. A few episodes ago, I can't remember which number episode, I sewed a dress for my little niece in this same fabric, and I still had absolutely tons of it left. And last week I watched a podcast which you might be familiar with, called Brooklyn Knit Folk, and that's Jacqueline. Her name's Jacqueline Salem, and yeah, I really like that podcast. It's one of my favourites. And so I think it was, I don't know if it was her most recent episode or if I was dipping into a past one, so I'm not quite sure which episode it was. It might have been a recent one. And she was wearing a sewing finished object. She was wearing this top, basically, and it looked absolutely lovely on her. And I'd seen that pattern on the website, and it's the Boxy Tee. I think it's called the Boxy Tee. Excuse me. Oh, I'll edit that coughing out. Oh dear. Sorry, I've just had a coughing fit and I've edited that out. So yeah, my voice has got a bit croaky now, sorry. So, I've just had a little coughing fit. I've edited it out, hopefully. And so I was saying, Jacqueline on the Brooklyn Knit Folk podcast was wearing this as her finished object, sewing finished object. And it's the Boxy Tee by Pearl Soho, a brilliant, wonderful yarn shop that I've never been to and would like to go to one day, but that would mean a trip to New York. And I did see this on the website because I think I am signed up for the newsletter. So I think when the pattern came through on the newsletter, I don't know how long ago, I saw it on the website and on their newsletter, and it just didn't even appeal to me in the slightest. And I think that's because of the fabric that they'd used, that Pearl Soho had used, and the particular sort of style in terms of using a 3/4 length sleeve. I didn't really look twice at it. I think I just scrolled straight past it and thought, oh no, you know. And but then Jacqueline Salem, I think sometimes you've got to have a bit more vision when you're looking at something and imagine it in a different fabric perhaps, and not necessarily bypass it, which is something I have trouble doing. But then I saw Jacqueline wearing hers, and she'd made it in a beautiful drapey pale grey linen. And it just looks so lovely on her. And I thought, ooh. And she was saying a little bit about the pattern and how simple it was. It was basically just, it's 2 squares. And she showed you the 2 bits that you get to print off. And it's a template to just cut the neck shape out. And yeah, the front and the back neck. And that's it. Everything else is just, it's basically a square. And I thought, well, to get myself back into garment sewing, I've been doing a lot of project bags, but I kind of want to get back into sewing some garments. I thought I wanted something really nice and simple. So I thought I'd use this fabric, because I still had lots left, and I had a go at the boxy tee. And yeah, so thanks for that, Jacqueline, because, well, I don't know if she'll be watching this at all, but yeah, thanks to Jacqueline, because I wouldn't have thought twice about making this if I hadn't have seen her wearing hers, and sort of, it just made me think, oh, that boxy tee could look really nice, and actually very feminine as well, which I didn't think it looked in the original photograph. So I've made mine out of a really drapey fabric, and I'm going to have to make a camisole or buy a camisole to go under this, but this is mine, and it looks big, but I think that's the whole point, because it's a boxy tee. It's not a fitted garment, but in a future podcast I'll probably actually pop this on, or I'll put a photograph of me wearing it, and it hangs really nicely, and it does look, it looks quite petite once it's on, but as you can see I still have to put the hem on, so it's quite, this fabric's quite, it frays really easily, so I'll put the hem on before the next time I show you, and then hopefully I'll model it. So I don't know if you can see, but the neckline just goes down a bit at the front. Is that obvious at all? And it's basically just it's just a square. And what I did for this, because of the type of fabric that I'm using, it's such a fine fabric that I've used French seams. So I'll try and show you and just see if it's, I don't know how obvious that is, but anyway, I've used some French seams, and then and it does say to use bias binding around the neck, which I have done. So I made bias binding out of the same fabric, which was very fiddly because this fabric is so floaty and light you can hardly feel it between your fingers. But I managed to make some bias binding. Thankfully you can iron this fabric. I don't know what the content is, but you can actually iron it and it doesn't melt into a big lumpy mess. So and then I actually just hand stitch, so I can't really see what I'm showing you, so I don't know if you can see that, but I'll do some photos for the blog, some close-up photos, but I've hand-stitched the bias binding all the way around. I didn't want to use the sewing machine to put the binding on because I thought it might not look too delicate, and I just wanted to keep that, didn't want to compromise on the drape. And before I did the bias binding, that was the kind of the last stage that I've done so far. Basically I kind of did a double hem. No, I rolled the seam over twice, so it tucked under, if you know what I mean, all the way up the sides, and then basically just folded you join it at the shoulder seam first. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job of it, explaining this. 2 squares, you cut out the neck using the template, you join at the shoulder seams, and then what I did, I think this might have deviated from the pattern a bit, but because of the fabric that I've got, what I then did was open the whole thing out and then just rolled up the side seams once and then again, so that you're tucking under the raw edge, and stitched all along there, and then just fold the whole thing in half so that you've got it as in you fold it in half like that, and then I basically kind of draped it on me and marked a spot here where it would be a good place to have my armhole, and then just basically stitched down here. Just a normal seam, and of course the seam didn't then need finishing because it's already finished, and so that's the seam. Doesn't even have to be a French seam. It's got quite a bit of stitching on. It's not the neatest thing I've ever sewn, but all the raw edges are enclosed. And there was a tiny bit of something wrong with my sewing machine at the moment, and I really need to take it in to be serviced, because when I'm sewing really lightweight fabrics I'm getting a puckering. I don't want to fiddle around with the tension too much because it doesn't seem to work anyway, trying to alter the tension. I did put a very fine needle in. I still got a little bit of puckering, but to be honest with you, don't know if that's obvious, but to be honest with you, when you put the garment, when I wear this, the puckering on the seams is a bit of an accidental sort of happy mistake, really. It doesn't gather the top up, but it does add to the nice drape of it, and it kind of makes it look a little bit more shaped, whereas it's not actually shaped, so it gives the illusion of it being a little bit more fitted and shaped, so I'm actually okay with that. And for the hem, rather than rolling it up, rolling under twice and stitching, well, I haven't quite decided. I'll either roll it under twice and stitch it, or I shall use a much thicker bias binding, something like that, about maybe an inch, and just hand stitch that all around the hem. But I think I'm definitely going to hand stitch it because I want to retain that really nice sort of delicate quality, and I definitely don't want the tension on the sewing machine to compromise the drape of the fabric, so I don't want to risk that really. So I'll just hand stitch a hem on there, and so the next time I show you that, hopefully I will be wearing it, or at least I shall do a little bit of a model and do an insert for you. So that's another one of my sewing nearly finished objects. So I've been very busy with the sewing machine, and it really needs to go for a service, but I can't bring myself to part with it because I just want to keep sewing. But I'm going to the wool shop, which is where I would take it to have it serviced, because Jonna, who owns the wool shop, her husband does sewing machine servicing and repairs. So I'm going there on Thursday for something very exciting, and I might take it with me and ask how long it will take him to service it, because I need to get it in good order really if I'm going to make these project bags to go on my Etsy shop. So on Thursday is mine and Jonna, my friend Jonna, who owns the wool shop, have decided to have a knit and natter group, an actual real life knit and natter group where people actually turn up with cake and tea. Well, we'll provide cake and tea. And it's in her wool shop, which is brilliant, so it's a perfect setting. And I'm hoping to try to encourage a few new knitters to come along. And I've made a little poster, and we've been putting it up around Jonna has put some up around Llanrwst, which is the town where she lives, and I've put some up around the village where I live in the shop, and in the village where I work, which is a few miles down the road, in various shops there. So I'm hoping we'll get one or two people to come to that. It might just be me and Jonna sat there with a cake each and showing each other our knitting. Well, that'd be fine. But I think we've got one lady interested in coming to learn to crochet. And we're just really happy to show people how to get started. And of course, any age and any ability are welcome. We just want a knit and natter group really to share our knitting and crochet and have a cup of tea and a bit of cake and chat. So that's on Thursday, it's Tuesday now, so that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And something else exciting I did, now this is a couple of weeks ago now, can't remember what date it was, but it's a couple of weeks ago. I had a spinning lesson. I went to a nearby town, it's about a 40-minute drive away, and I had booked a lesson with a lady called Chrissy. She has got a shop, and in her shop, it's not your conventional yarn shop where you walk in and the walls are all covered in yarns and commercial yarns, etc. It's more of a sort of spinning workshop and weaving workshop, and she has loads of spinning wheels in there. She's got all hand spun fleece. She's got boxes of and baskets full of things for you to use for spinning. So she sells the spinning, the hand, what's it called? It's not a bobbin, is it? I bought one and I don't even know what it's called. A drop spindle, I do know what it's called, a drop spindle. She sells those, and she sells the carders, and she sells fleece in various forms. You can buy it raw. She's got a whole cellar full of different fleeces from local farmers. And she sells prepared fleeces, even up to selling them in the ready-made Rolex, which is basically what you spin from. So I had my spinning lesson, and it was a 2-hour lesson, but I think I was there for about 3 hours. And I had a go on a drop spindle, which was a really valuable lesson to do before you have a go on a spinning wheel. Then I had a go on a spinning wheel. So I think I shall put some details and pictures about that on the blog, but I might try to insert a few pictures here if I can work out how to do it. I don't know if I can. So hopefully you might see a few images here. You might not. If not, and you want to see them, just pop over to the blog. I'll link to it in the show notes in the Ravelry group as well, to where you can find those images on the blog. But basically, I'll just show you the things that I got and that I did while I was on my spinning lesson. And at the moment, it's all in a lovely, cute little bag that I got for my birthday from Avion's mum, and this was so gorgeous. And this is going to my knit night with me. Knitting is good. And there's a little, I think that's a sheep, is it? It's so cute. I think she saw that in a market sometime before my birthday and thought that I would like it, and she was absolutely right. And it's perfect for taking to my knit group with me, because I'm going to need a nice big roomy bag. You can fit lots in this bag, to put my cake tin in at the bottom, and then all my knitting on top of it. So perfect, lovely sturdy bag, and it says knitting is good, which is great, and knitting is good. So here's my, I purchased a drop spindle. I'll just put that down there. I purchased a drop spindle after I'd had my lesson. And it's got some leader yarn on it. I was just using that in the shop to do my hand spinning. So there's my drop spindle. And this is what I was using for my lesson. It's, now then, is it a top or a bottom one? Oh, do you know what? I can't remember. You're supposed to use it. I think it's a top. Do you call it a whirl? Do you know what? I can't remember any of the words. Oh no, because I haven't actually done any since I've had my lesson. I'm really keen to do some, but I've been so busy with everything else. I might have to pop back in and ask her actually, or take it to my knit night and see if anybody else knows. I've actually forgotten how to use it. I'll probably be able to remember. But anyway, I had a lot of fun with that. That was absolutely brilliant. And it's a beautiful spindle. And with that, I managed to spin. I've got 2 examples here of my very first kind of attempt at hand spinning. I have done it once in the past, but I didn't have a proper lesson, so I'm going to call this my first attempt at spinning. And one is with the drop spindle and one is with the on the wheel. And the drop spindle, I think it's this one. So first of all, I picked out some fleece from like a random basket of odds and ends that she had, and then we had a go at carding it and preparing some Rolex. So I think these are the ones I prepared. Not the neatest ones, but so I prepared those. So you can blend sort of different colours or different fibres together at that stage if you want to do it that way. I know there's different ways of doing it, but that's one way. And then you attach it to your drop spindle, and then you produce a great big lumpy sort of string of what could pass as yarn. And actually I'm quite pleased with it, and I've plied it. She showed me how to ply it afterwards, so you're looking at my hand spun, and then the second stage was that I actually plied it with just something off her shelf, a really fine, very, very fine sort of lacy weight yarn, or sort of, could even be a cotton actually. don't know what it is I applied it with, I just grabbed something off the shelf. So there's my very first hand spun, a little bit knobbly bobbly. Some bits are quite twisty and nice, and I will knit something with this. I'm not sure what yet. And I'd like to say it got better as I went along, but I think it's just all very lumpy, bumpy, knobbly, bobbly, but that's fine because it's my first ever go. And she did say I did quite well. And then we went on to the spinning wheel. So I'm not sure what make her spinning wheel was, but like I say, hopefully I'll put a picture in, or you might have already seen it. But it was a really beautiful sort of old wooden spinning wheel. It looked a bit like an Ashford, but I don't know why I said that, because they're all different shapes and sizes, aren't they, even the Ashford ones. But what I found with the spinning wheel was the yarn that I produced on that, which is this second ball. It's still very lumpy bumpy, as you can see. That's what they call a really rustic yarn anyway. But I managed to get, well, I don't say not managed because it wasn't intentional, but there are some places where it's really, really, really thin. Like, it could just snap so easily. And obviously, and I've got a bit of overspun there as well. But, you know, first try, not bad. And then did I ply that? Oh no, I haven't plied this one yet. She showed me how to, so I could ply this on my drop spindle with something out of my stash if I wanted to. Might just make it a bit stronger maybe, or hold it together a bit more, and just take some of that extra twist out. It kind of gets utilised in the, when you ply it. Yeah, that's quite a bouncy, twisty yarn that I've produced. There's no point putting it any closer because the camera doesn't really focus, but I'll just show you from the side. Twisty, knobbly, bobbly yarn. My first hand spun. So I'm quite pleased with that, and I'm very enthusiastic to do some more. So it's just a case of time, and I think if I were to save up and get a spinning wheel, I think I would like an e-spinner. And I only know about them because of Lena from A Wee Bit Knitty. She used to do a podcast which I really loved. It's one of the first ones I ever watched, and really it's kind of one of the podcasts that got me into watching podcasts. And I remember that she still has a blog, so I'm hoping she's going to still carry on with her spinning and show some of that on her blog. Lena, if you're watching, I hope you carrying on with your spinning as well, because I really love seeing what you're doing with your spinning. Yeah, I used to really like hearing all about her spinning, and I'm pretty sure that Lena had got herself an e-spinner, which is like a small tabletop electric spinner. And I do think, realistically, that if I'm going to buy a spinning wheel, that is probably what I'm going to have more success and be more likely to actually use. It's not to do with space, because the house is big and I can fit a spinning wheel in, but I think, and I know that they've sort of the wheels themselves are really beautiful, but I just think realistically an e-spinner might be something that's that I get more use out of maybe, and perhaps be able to produce more yarn with it. But I'm going to, I've got a bit more to show you from that, but I'm going to I'll carry on talking about the spinning in a second, but I'm going to the British Wool Show at the weekend. So on Friday I'm going to travel down to Leeds, where my friend lives, and stay overnight. And then on Saturday we're going to spend the day at the British Wool Show in York. And I'm really excited about that. And I think from what I can gather, it sounds like it's quite a big show. I'm really looking forward to it because the Eden Cottage Yarns have got a stand there, and I want to look at their yarn and squish it, because that's some yarn that I'd really love to buy, but I've never actually had my hands on it. So that's one of the things I'm going to be making a beeline for. But hopefully there'll be some spinning there. Possibly I might be able to see some spinning at the British Wool Show. Maybe there'll be an e-spinner that I'll be able to have a look at. I don't know if I'll be able to have a go. I know when you go to the knitting and stitching show, they often have trade stands where they're demonstrating various machines, and it's a good opportunity to go and have a look at something that you're considering buying. So fingers crossed that there'll be some spinning there for me to have a look at, and possibly there might be an e-spinner. Now, I bought 2 skeins of yarn from this shop. I'm only going to show one because the other... oh, sorry, my computer went off. The other is identical to some yarn that I've sent in a swap package. So I don't want to show that because it will spoil the surprise. So these are 2 totally different yarns. So I'm just going to show you one that I bought from the place where I had my spinning lesson. And this is hand spun by Chrissy, by The Professional. Well, you'll be able to tell that by looking at it and not compared to mine. And it's made of, I think this is all merino. And Chrissy's shop and company is called the Lost Sheep Company. So I'll put a link to that as well, so you can always Google that. If you're in Wales, if you're in North Wales and you fancy having a go at spinning, Charlie, what are you doing, darling? What are you doing? Charlie's having a wash again. She's been a bit. Charlie's here. Look, I don't know if you can see her. Licking her. Lick. She wants a breakfast. Sorry. So it's the Lost Sheep Company. In North Wales. She's in Colwyn Bay. I always want to say Abergele, but she's in Colwyn Bay, and she's a really nice lady, and she's very generous with her time as well, and what she'll, her knowledge and what she'll tell you. And you can go down into her cellar and have a look at all her different fleeces, and so this is one of the skeins that I bought. And I don't know if I've said this before, but I love pink and green. Well, you might be able to tell because I've got it in the colours here. Ooh, cardi. Ooh, cardigan to go with this, maybe. There's a bit of food. Whoops, bit of food for thought. I'll have to buy quite a few more skeins. She has got a lot more of this in her shop, and she could, if I took this in and said, could you do some more of this? She does do custom spinning as well, so maybe I could do that. But this is absolutely beautiful. Totally fell in love with it. It was on the on display for sale, and I could not leave without it. And it's completely hand spun. I think she hand dyes the fleece as well, the various different colours. Charlie, no, darling, come over here, come on. Sorry, I've stopped her from when she licks herself. She has a wash. It's really noisy. Sorry, Charlie. Sorry, can you do it later? Come and sit here. She's sniffing in my bag now. So, but I won't show you the other one. I did buy another skein of yarn, but I'm going to keep that. I'm going to just not show you that because that would spoil a surprise in case Antonella is watching this podcast before she gets her swap package. But it's a different skein of yarn. Okay, it's totally different, so that's okay. It's not going to spoil anything by showing you this one. And she's plied it, and it's absolutely so pretty and gorgeous. And I have no idea as yet what this looks like knitted up, but because it's very rustic and it's quite sort of thin and thick and sort of quite spun in some places and quite loose in others, like there. It's going to create quite a nice textured fabric, I think. So there's a massive pile of yarn there. I just can't realise how much yarn I've acquired over the last few weeks. That's definitely going to keep me busy for weeks. Well, more than weeks. I've made a bit of a resolution, and that is that basically to give my bank balance time to recover and actually to give me a chance to actually use all of the yarn that I've bought and been sent and given, and all of my stash yarn. Everything there is just full of yarn. The cupboards, oh no, that's full of fabric, but there's loads of yarn in here as well. To give myself a chance just to sort of, use some of that and recover the bank balance a little bit, I have made a resolution to not buy any yarn for the whole of August. But there is a small loophole, of course, because I'm going to the British Wool Show at the weekend. And I made that resolution before I remembered about going to the wool show. So what I've decided is I'm sticking to my resolution, and I've already had to put it into action. I very nearly bought some Jameson's Spindrift online. I nearly went online to browse rustic yarns the other day, but I stopped myself because I've got plenty of yarn already surrounding me in this room. So I've done well so far, but it's only, what, the 2nd of August today. So yeah, you might have to cheer me on and help me with that, with the resisting of buying yarn for the whole of August. But yes, I can't go to the British Wool Show and not buy yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set myself a very sensible budget and take it in cash and not take my card with me. That's going to stay at home, and I shall just take my purse with my set budget in cash, and that is what I'll be able to spend for the day. And I think that's okay, because I think you'll all agree you can't go to a wool show, a once-a-year wool show, and not purchase anything. That would be madness, absolute madness. So it's a small loophole in my resolution, and maybe I'll tag a couple of weeks onto the end of that, and maybe go into September a little bit with my not buying of yarn. We'll see. But I shall have to purchase some yarn probably at least in the 2nd week of September, because Antonella and I are going to have this cal that I spoke about earlier in the podcast, well, in the first half of the podcast. And I know I do want to make something very specific, even though actually I've got loads of yarn here that she sent me. I'm going to use some of that for the cal. There is a project that I want to make specifically, and I will need to purchase some more yarn for that. So hopefully that will be, if I can stick to my resolution, then my next yarn purchase will be for the cal in September. And until then, I've got absolutely plenty to be going on with. Don't you think? God, that's not even all of it. That's not even all of the yarn. That's not even all of it, because I've got fabric as well. That's just ridiculous. And there's some fabric on the way. I've been showing Antonella pictures, either private message, or I don't think I've put this on Instagram yet, but about the bag, because she sent me the pattern and she sent me the fabric, the Stow bag. And she really loved the bag, and she really loved Tilda fabric, because I've kind of showed that a little bit on the podcast. And I believe that it's difficult to get hold of it in Canada, I think she said. She didn't know about Tilda fabric before. If you don't know about Tilda fabric, go looking for it, because it is absolutely gorgeous, amazing, beautiful yarn. Fabric. And anyway, Antonella fell in love with it, and she asked me if I would make her a bag. She asked me if she could commission me to do a bag, one of these Stow bags in some fabric. And I said, because I haven't got my Etsy shop up and running yet, and haven't kind of worked out things like pricing and, you know, all of that. So I was like, yes, I really want to make you a bag. I'd love to do that. So I said to her, okay, you order the fabric. And I sent her some links to some of the websites where she could order the fabric. And I sent her links to British websites, because I said if she orders the fabric and sends it straight to me, if she orders it from a UK website, then obviously the postage and package and the delivery time would be a lot quicker than if she ordered it in Canada and then had it sent over. So she's ordered some fabric. It's Tilda fabric. We had a lot of fun on Instagram with just messaging each other with pictures of various different fabrics. She needed some help deciding. She narrowed it down to some really beautiful combinations, one for the outer and one for the lining. And so we had quite a lot of fun sort of deciding which fabric to do her bag in. And I saw on Ravelry, just very quickly had a quick check on Ravelry last night. I haven't had time to respond to her message, but she said that she'd ordered the fabric and it was on its way. So I'm very excited, because I know it's not my fabric, but I'm going to get to sew with it. And also, I don't know which one she chose. But if I know Antonella, she'll probably tell me before it gets here, because she's not very good at keeping surprises. She may have already sent me a photograph of which ones, I'm not sure, or it could be a nice surprise in the post. But what she also said, and I can't believe this because of all the stuff she's already sent me, but she's also sending me she's ordered me a meter for me as a gift for making the bag, which is really, really, really sweet of her, because the deal was that I said to her, you order the fabric and send it to me and I'll make you the bag and send it back, and then perhaps you could show the bag on her podcast. And she said deal, but then she's broken the deal because she's bought me some fabric. So Antonella, I'm really excited to get that. Thank you really very, very much, because it's really generous of you. And so I'll be making something else gorgeous for myself with that fabric too. So that's something else lovely coming in the post. So my postman's been very busy. And so will I be with all of this yarn, I think, over the next few weeks. And so I'm going to go now, because this podcast has been going on for a very long time. I am going to, today, work a little bit on my Carpino sweater, and I'm also going to cast on the Mystery Whip, because I want to knit a good few inches of that at least, to have to show you for the next time I podcast, which is going to be I think on Monday. That's my next day off, and I would like to be able to give you all of the details about mine and Antonella and mine's Cal. How do you say that? Mine and Antonella's knit along, which we're going to have in September, and also tell you about the giveaway that I'm going to have on the podcast. So thank you for watching. If you have stuck with this for, I think it is like something like nearly 2 hours, which is a ridiculous amount of time. At least there was an interval in the middle where you could go and get yourself a pot of tea. Next one will be a lot shorter. Famous last words. Okay, well, thanks for sticking with it. Thanks for hanging out with me and sharing all my lovely yarn purchases and acquisitions. And I shall see you in less than a week now, because it's Tuesday already. So, yeah, see you again very soon. Thanks. Bye. I've just realised that I actually did not do the Welsh word, and I should have done that while I was talking about my spinning, so I'm going to just very quickly pop it in now, because I don't want to miss that out for the second week running, and I spent a lot of time preparing this Welsh word, and I got some help from my friend to do so. So, I found out the Welsh word. I'm looking at my notes here so that I can get this right. I found out the Welsh word to do with spinning, which was how to say spinning wheel. So the Welsh word or words for spinning wheel is Olwyn Nyddi. I really hope I've said that properly. I think at some point I might actually get Avion to come and do a very quick feature on the podcast and say something in Welsh on the podcast as well. Maybe like he says it and then I say it, or I say it and then he says it, because then you can compare whether, like, you know, my Welsh accent's not well, obviously I speak it with an English accent probably. Anyway, so yep, the Welsh for spinning wheel is Olwyn Nyddi, and simply to spin is Nyddi. And was there another word there? Where did I write that down? Oh no. Me and my friend Avion's cousin Neris, who's my friend, I went round to her house and I asked her to make sure that I got the right words, because there's another word that came up in the dictionary for under spinning, which was a totally different word altogether, troelli, but it doesn't really mean spinning. It means something else, like to do with turning or something. So I just wanted her to check that I had the right phrase to say on the podcast. And while we were looking, she was looking in her Nines, very, very old dictionary. And Nine is Welsh for grandma or grandmother. So she was looking in the dictionary that used to belong to her grandmother. And there was another phrase. It must have been an older phrase. And was it Rhod Nyddi? Rhod Nyddi. Yeah. So you could either say Olwyn Nyddi. Olwyn is the word for wheel, and Nyddi is the word for spinning. So you can say Olwyn Nyddi, or you could say, which is what we found in the dictionary, Rhod Nyddi. And Rhod possibly could be a word for rod, which could represent more of the this. I keep forgetting what this is called. A drop spindle. Maybe we were guessing at that because maybe you would call that more like a rod rather than an actual wheel. So rhod na thi or I'll win na thi for spinning wheel. So there you go, there's the Welsh word of the week, or Welsh words of the week. And hopefully I'll have another one for you next week.